الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ولا نذير له وأشهد أن سيدنا وسندنا ومولانا محمدا عبده وحبيبه ورسوله أرسله الله تعالى للناس رحمة للناس جميعا وقال وما أرسلناك إلا رحمة للعالمين. أيها المؤمنون الحاضرون، أوصيكم ونفسي الخاطئة بتقوى الله وطاعته، إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون. يقول ربنا سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، وذكرهم بأيام الله. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم في أحد من أحاديثه: إن لربكم في أيام دهركم نفحات فتعرضوا له لعله أن يصيبكم نفحة منها فلا تشقون بعدها أبدا. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله الكريم ونحن على ذلك من الشاهدين. I praise Allah as He deserves to be praised, and I ask Him to send His peace and His blessings upon His beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family members, his companions, and all of those who followed his way of life. Dear brothers and sisters, we are right now living the last days of the sacred month of Rajab, a month full of blessings, a month in which the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam increased the righteous deeds, but at the same time did fast. And we are about to enter into a new month, and that is the month of Sha'ban. The month of Sha'ban, it is not considered to be a month like the Rajab or the Muharram and the other two. In other words, it's not considered to be a sacred month. However, the deeds that are performed during this month are or were constantly done by a Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, like for example fasting during this month of Sha'ban. Just like as we mentioned during the month of Rajab he fasted, he also fasted a lot during the month of Sha'ban as well. And we start with an ayah from the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَذَكِّرْهُمْ بِأَيَّامِ اللَّهِ, remind them about the days of Allah. The days of Allah, many scholars, when you get into the tafsir, the commentary of the Quran, they will talk about the day when Allah saved Bani Israel from the tyranny of Pharaoh, and He opened for them the sea, and Musa alayhi salam with Bani Israel went through that. So this is among those ayyamillah, the days of God, that people need to be reminded. Others, they have mentioned that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about ayyamillah, these days of God are the present days that we are witnessing, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving and granting victory to the believers. Like for example, during the battle of Badr, during other times when people are going to Hajj, for example, and performing sacrifice, performing tawaf, all of these other important days, important weeks, these are all a part of these ayyamillah, the days of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And indeed, these are opportunities for us as well to be reminded the favors that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon us. So these are all among the ayyamillah, because in this blessed month of Sha'ban, there is a day, there is a night, the nisf of Sha'ban, the middle of Sha'ban, in which there is a great virtues in that day or that night. There are a lot of virtues. So therefore, we have to be reminded of these blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon us. And we are also reminded that compared to the other compared to the other nations that God has sent before us, we have a shorter lifespan. When we talk about Nuh alayhi salam, the Quran says that Nuh invited his own people over 950 years in Islam. And we know that Adam alayhi salam lived a long time as well. And many other generations after them, they had a very long lifespan, but when it comes to our ummah, we have the shortest lifespan. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comprised during this short time for us, to get engaged in some righteous deeds, to utilize some of the times, short times that we have, and then be able to achieve a lot. Like for example, if you compare all 12 months and only 1 month fasting, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through one night during that month of Ramadan, He forgives you, and He considers Laylatul Qadr, right? He considers as you have spent your entire life, which is 82 years, you have spent all of that in worship. And this was not a case with many other nations before us. So this is a special case when it comes to the ummah of Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So He has given us a lot of rewards in a very short period of time that we can engage. Like for example, a person prays during the day and night, let's say maximum 1 hour, all the prayers, out of 24 hours. But in that 1 hour, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guarantees that the person is all forgiven from all the sins. So that is again, compared to other nations, this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He has given us, bestowed upon us in order for us to benefit in this world and in the hereafter as well. There is a hadith of the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam that says that indeed, inna li rabbikum fi ayyami dahrikum nafahat. Indeed, your Lord bestows gifts that are preserved in your days. So seek it. In other words, seek those blessings during those days. By the way, this hadith has weakness in the narration, but since it is about the virtues, it's very important to understand it well. And also this hadith is supported by verse of the Quran, and it is supported by other hadiths as well that are sound for sure. So it may be that one of you, it is mentioned in the hadith, it may be that one of you will fate upon it and will therefore never again be in a misery. So it is possible for you that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends these nafahat, these gifts, these precious gifts to you, like for example during the Jum'ah there is a sa'ah, there is a very specific time. It's a very specific time, short period of time, that if you're praying to Allah during that time, we don't know exactly, but if we are praying to Allah during that time, our prayers are going to be answered immediately. So, and there is a wisdom behind why Allah did not reveal through the Prophet ﷺ that hour, in order for us to seek it, in order for us to be constantly praying to God, raising our hands and asking Him, be connected with Him. So there is a lot of wisdom behind that. But if you catch that time, then you are blessed with so much. Your prayers will be answered right away. So that's why He says, it may be that one of you will fate upon it, like will catch that time, that those gifts that Allah is sending, and will therefore never again be in a misery. Dear brothers and sisters, the month of Sha'ban has many virtues. And among these, I can mention some by starting and saying that Sha'ban is a month in which the deeds of the human being are raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said in a hadith that is reported by An-Nasa'i rahimahullah ta'ala, ذَلِكَ شَهْرٌ يَغْفُلُ النَّاسُ عَنْهُ بَيْنَ رَجَبٍ وَرَمَضَانٍ وهو شهر ترفع فيه الأعمال إلى رب العالمين فأحب أن يرفع عملي وأنا صائم. So this hadith gives us two important aspects. The first aspect is that people neglect this month, the month of Sha'ban. Why? Because they're paying attention to the month that is considered to be sacred, Rajab, right? And then they also pay attention, of course, to the month that is the month of Ramadan. So in between there is the month of Sha'ban. They kind of drop their increase of righteous deeds and fasting and prayers and so on and so forth. So they kind of neglect this. There is a tendency of neglecting. So Nabi ﷺ says that this month, the month of Sha'ban, it is a month in which the deeds are raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Lord of the worlds. So during this month, our deeds are being raised to Him. Our good ones and the bad ones as well. And none of us would wish for God to see or to witness so many bad deeds that we perform. We all wish that these deeds are being lifted positively. These are lifted while Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with all of us. This is what we're looking for. So again, we have an opportunity during this month to commit to such deeds. And the Nabi ﷺ is giving us an ishara, is giving us a sign by saying that, and I wish that my deeds would be raised to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while I'm fasting. So He's giving us a hint that one of the best things that we can do during a month in which the deeds are being raised is to fast. So fasting during this month of Sha'ban, it also helps us a lot for the month of Ramadan. Why? Because when you go straight into fasting for 30 days or 29 days, whatever the case may be, it may be very hard on your body. It may be hard for you to concentrate. It may be hard for you to engage yourself in so many righteous deeds. But when you start from this month getting ready and fasting many days or some days, whatever you prefer, the more the better, of course, then Ramadan will be, inshallah, easier for you. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam increased his acts of worship also by fasting more compared to the other month other than Ramadan during the month of Sha'ban. It is a time that people are heedless. So Nabi ﷺ in the hadith, he says that people are heedless. In other words, we are commanded or we are told in this hadith that we should not be among those who are heedless people. What is heedless? Heedless, it means when a person does not pay attention to what's important to him or her. That's being heedless. Being in heedlessness. So, again, as I said, we have these opportunities that God is sending as gifts to us. And then we choose to ignore them because we're busy with secondary matters. That is unfair. It is like saying, look, here is the best food for you. You're hungry. Here is a food with nutrition. Here is a food that is amazing. Now, eat it. But you say, no, I'm not interested in that food. I'm interested in something that has less nutrition. I'm just going to go for this one. Why would you do that? Or somebody who will tell you, hey, here is the gold. Take the gold, it has a lot of values. You will say, no, I want to choose the silver. Why would you choose silver when gold is so precious in it? So again, when you are not paying attention to the acts of worship, when you're not getting ready, preparing yourself, and putting the efforts in making sure that you're fasting, you're increasing your prayers, you're reading Quran, you are contributing in different ways in society, community, family, relatives, whatever the case may be, this is your priority, especially in a time like this that is needed from you the most. Rajab, Sha'ban, Ramadan. You're required to be present. You're required to excel. But you say like, no, I'm going to consider Rajab like the other months. I'll keep doing whatever I do. I will continue to do whatever I do or however I'm used to even during the month of Sha'ban. No change whatsoever. When Ramadan comes, I'm going to start changing. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they struggle with that change during the month of Ramadan because they didn't do any preparation before it. They either pass the month of Ramadan struggling to change themselves, or they don't even change except that they fast. And fasting often has no value because they're not able to disengage from certain things that may not even be considered to be okay during the month of Ramadan. So that's why, again, it's very important for us to pay attention to what is priority for us and what is secondary. Again, I'm not saying what is not important. I'm talking about priorities, and I'm talking about secondary matters that we need to have a clear idea of what they are, and we need to put efforts, roll our sleeves right now. This is the time right now to start rolling our sleeves and start getting serious about these acts of worship. Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, rahimahullah ta'ala anhu, said that in performing righteous deeds during the times of heedlessness, there are 3 benefits. So for people who are paying attention during these times that are important, but a lot of people are neglecting, there are 3 benefits, he says. Number 1, first, they are unknown to people who are busy with their livelihoods and play. Concealing voluntary worship is better during this time. Not least fasting, which is the most secret worship. Which is why the scholars say it is safe from displaying it to the others. So again, worship at night, prayers, these types of fasting, these are considered to be secret, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give a lot of rewards as you conceal them. Second, it is difficult for people to do good deeds during these times. Like, it's not Ramadan, but still it has a lot of blessings, right? So people, they find it to be very difficult. And the more difficult they are, the more rewards they're going to receive people. It's very normal, right? When others are neglecting, you are there, you are present, you are fasting, you are praying more, you are reading Quran more, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely give you more. That is because the individual emulates those who surround him. So you have a tendency of being like them, but you're choosing not to. And the third benefit is that the one who stands out from among the people of heedlessness with worship can be the reason for calamities being repelled and warded off. If everybody is in heedlessness, then a calamity can come. In a time when you're not supposed to be in heedlessness, people that are in heedlessness, a calamity from God can come. But you stand with some other righteous people and you do what it is required to do, you ward off the calamity coming because of you and these other individuals. So there's a lot of benefits as a result of that. Sha'ban, dear brothers and sisters, is the month in which An-Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam also received the ayah, according to Imam Qastalani and many others, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَمَلَائِكَتَهُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا. Indeed, Allah and His angels, they send their salams and the salawats upon Nabi alayhi salam. Therefore, you believers as well, send your salams, send your salawats upon him too. So if it is revealed during the month of Sha'ban, it means that it has a very special, it is a special time as well, when we are reminded to increase the salawats upon Nabi alayhi salam, and we all know the rewards of the salawat. We get closer to Nabi alayhi salam. We also receive the prayers of Nabi alayhi salam back. We receive the prayers of the angels as well when we are sending salams and the salawats upon our blessed Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And also, it is very important to recognize the fact that during this time we have to keep away from being the reason of disconnecting relationship with our family members or our relatives. In a hadith that is narrated by Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala in the Al-Adab al-Mufrad, I heard, or Adab al-Mufrad, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam say, the actions of the children of Adam are presented before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on Thursday evening. Again, the actions that we perform are presented to God on Thursday evening, the night before Jum'ah. He does not, referring to God, He does not accept the action of someone who has severed ties of kinship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not accept the actions, the good deeds of the people who have cut off relations with others. So this is a time that we're looking for our actions to be accepted, right? We're looking for our fasting to be accepted. We're looking to increase in doing good deeds. But how can we do that when we are again struggling here when it comes to, having negative relations with our family members, relatives, and so on? So we have to be smart about it, and we have to see where are we failing in relations with others, and how can we better those relations. Let's say I have a problem with this person, with this relative of mine, for whatever reason it is. Probably it was his fault or her fault. You know what? Lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, for the sake of God, I'm going to reach out. I'm going to make peace with that person. This is very important. It's very, very important for our prayers to be answered, for our du'as to be answered, and for our prayers as well, for our salawats to be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله حمد الكاملين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه تعظيما لنبيه وتكريما لفخامة شأن شاف صفيه. فقال عز وجل من قائل مخبرا وآمرا إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد وسلم تسليما كثيرا. وارض اللهم عن ساداتنا أبي بكر وعمر وعثمان وعلي وعن أهل بيت رسول الله وأصحابه الكرام والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم طهر قلوبنا واستر عيوبنا واشف مرضانا وارحم موتانا وانصرنا على أعدائنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين وانصر إخواننا المسلمين في فلسطين وفي سودان وفي يمن وفي كل مكان يا أرحم الراحمين ويا خير الناصرين. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وبارك لنا في رجب وشعبان وبلغنا إلى رمضان يا رب العالمين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. عباد الله، يقول تعالى إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون.